Thank you for listening to Stories at Pink Meow Meow Audio. Hope you enjoyed the story. If there's ever a destined unlucky day in life, then for me that day is definitely today. It's raining cats and dogs. I stood huddled under the small awning of a closed drugstore. I was soaked to the skin, my phone was dead, and my wallet had disappeared without me knowing. Thin coat stuck to body, hair disheveled like a water mop. Looking around, I only saw people rushing past. No one had time to pay attention to a slovenly person like me. Well, who doesn't have more urgent things to do than save a lost child? I hugged my shoulders, trembling and muttering, "Anhao, you are truly possessed by an unlucky god." Just then, from the end of the street came the sound of a car horn. I squinted. A black cypress cloud like a ferocious beast tore through the rain curtain, stopping right in front of me. The car window rolled down. The person sitting inside was a man in a neat black suit. His cold eyes swept towards me. Those eyes were as deep as the sea and as sharp as a knife, making me shiver. Not because of fear. He looked at me for 3 seconds that seemed like 3 centuries. I instinctively shrank back against the wall. "Be prepared. If you meet a robber, throw your sandals and run." But he just asked softly, his voice as low as a croak, "Need help?" "Wait, I'm not asking if you need money, but if you need help. Is there still good people in this world?" I was still frozen when the passenger side door opened. The man tilted his head and added coldly, "Get in the car. I'll take you." Get in or not? The eternal question when standing at the threshold of life and death? I looked at him. His face did not look like a human trafficker's, although movies had said that handsome guys were very dangerous. I looked at myself, soaked, no longer having the strength to walk home. In the end, Lychee had to give in to the cold. I slowly walked over, sat in the passenger seat, my hand still not forgetting to tightly grip the strap of my old backpack like a last weapon of self-defense. The car door closed, the outside world was immediately blocked off. The space inside the car was warm, with a faint scent of mint. I shrunk my neck. Leanie said, "Thank you." He just replied indifferently, without needing any politeness. The car slowly rolled. I secretly turned to glance at the man beside me. His nose was high, his face was angular, his thin lips were slightly pursed, the type of person who could exude a total aura just by breathing. Cold talent like in the online novels I often read secretly in my free time. White shirt inside vest, buttons neatly buttoned, hem neat, left hand wearing a Patch Phillip Trio watch. This vibe is definitely not ordinary. Noticing my curious gaze, he tilted his head and raised his eyebrows to ask briefly, "What are you looking at?" I jumped and blushed and looked down. No, nothing. In my head, I was thinking, is looking at a handsome guy illegal? There was silence for about 5 minutes, and then he asked where I live. I stammered, "I don't remember the address. I just moved, my phone is out of battery, and my wallet is gone." Speaking of this, my throat choked. The feeling of sadness almost swallowed me up. The man pondered for a few seconds, then turned the car in the opposite direction. I asked, startled, "Where are you going?" He lazily spit out 2 words, "Go home." "Huh? Whose house is this?" Before I could react, the car had passed 3 intersections, turned into a tree-lined street, and finally stopped in front of a luxurious villa filled with yellow lights. The gate opened automatically. The guard bowed respectfully to greet the young master. I gasped. Young master? Did I get in the wrong rich guy's car? My head was buzzing when he opened the car door for me and coldly ordered me to get out like a robot. I crawled out of the car and followed him into the house. The large, quiet villa, black with crystal feet, sparkled like the sky. Why is this place so strange to my little world? He took off his coat and threw it on the sofa, his deep voice ringing out, "Go take a bath first. Don't catch a cold." I stuttered. But me? He turned back to look at me, his eyes deep, not wanting to be in debt, then obediently listened. I sadly carried my backpack to find the bathroom, my heart still spinning. Today, I was not only lost, I was also lost in the world of a strange, mysterious man whose eyes contained something that made my heart beat faster for the first time in a long time. After a while of struggling with my backpack and the huge bathroom door, I finally got to soak under the warm shower. The cold that had seeped into my skin all evening seemed to be gradually washed away, but my heart was still pounding. "Are you okay? You are really reckless." I was mumbling to myself while washing my face, not knowing who that person is, not knowing what his intentions are, but luckily he still dares to follow him home. Thinking back, I feel like the type of naive female protagonist in horror movies, always willingly walking into traps. But then again, he's so handsome, has such a great charisma, and such a magnificent villa. If he really has bad intentions, I'll have to accept it. Hey, don't wake up. I finished bathing, wrapped myself in a towel, looked left and right, then secretly opened the door. Immediately, what caught my eye was a brand new set of pajamas with the tags still intact, placed neatly on the doorknob along with a small piece of paper, handwritten neatly, in the room opposite. I waited, my whole body suddenly burning. Although I know for sure he was simply taking care of the sick, it still seems obvious no matter how I read it. There is a light scent of evening breeze. After getting dressed, I went out and knocked on the door of the room opposite. The door opened almost immediately. Tongmo Chang was sitting on the sofa, wearing a simple white shirt with rolled-up sleeves, revealing strong wrists, slender fingers holding a glass of warm water. Seeing me standing there, he just frowned and said in a low voice, "Come here." As if hypnotized, I crept forward. "Give me a glass of water, curtly, drink it." I obediently accepted it, took a small sip. The warm water was slightly sweet, sliding down my dry throat, made me almost cry. I don't know why, just a glass of water, but I feel like someone really cares about me. He sat with his back against the bed, his long legs crossed, his eyes calmly observing me, without any intention of probing, nor did he seem to want to take advantage. Like he was looking at a lost kitten, now well-fed and warmed. I shyly asked, "What's your name?" He lowered his eyes and leisurely replied, "Tongmo Chang," a nice name for a leisurely reply. Sounds classy, just like its owner. I mumbled and then whispered, "I'm Anne Howe." The space fell silent again. Outside, the rain is still not stopping. Each drop falling on the glass window seems to be beating the rhythm to the heart beating erratically in my chest. I moved my lips slightly, intending to say something more to ease the awkwardness, but he slowly spoke first. "Where are you going?" "I'm confused. I'll find a temporary place to stay and leave tomorrow. I won't bother you." As I said that, my palms were covered in sweat. Even though I knew that I wouldn't be able to stay overnight in the CEO's house forever, the words, "I'm leaving tomorrow," still made me feel a bit disappointed. He silently pondered for a few seconds, then turned the car in the opposite direction. I asked, startled, "Where are you going?" He lazily spit out 2 words, "Go home." Huh? Whose house is this? Before I could react, the car had passed 3 intersections, turned into a tree-lined street, and finally stopped in front of a luxurious villa filled with yellow lights. The gate opened automatically. The guard bowed respectfully to greet the young master. I gasped. Young master? Did I get in the wrong rich guy's car? My head was buzzing when he opened the car door for me and coldly ordered me to get out like a robot. I crawled out of the car and followed him into the house. The large, quiet villa, black with crystal feet, sparkled like the sky. Why is this place so strange to my little world? He took off his coat and threw it on the sofa, his deep voice ringing out. "Go take a bath first. Don't catch a cold." I stuttered. But me. He turned back to look at me, his eyes deep.
not wanting to be in debt, then obediently listened. I sadly carried my backpack to find the bathroom, my heart still spinning. Today, I was not only lost, I was also lost in the world of a strange, mysterious man whose eyes contained something that made my heart beat faster for the first time in a long time. After a while of struggling with my backpack and the huge bathroom door, I finally got to soak under the warm shower. The cold that had seeped into my skin all evening seemed to be gradually washed away, but my heart was still pounding. "Are you okay? You are really reckless." I was mumbling to myself while washing my face, not knowing who that person is, not knowing what his intentions are, but luckily, he still dares to follow him home. Thinking back, I feel like the type of name.
I lay still listening to the rain outside the window, my heart feeling lighter than ever. A day that started with tragedy and ended with being protected by a strange man sounds like a sad story. But right now, I don't feel fake at all. Before falling asleep, I thought if possible, I wanted to stay with him a little longer. Even just a little is enough. The next morning, I woke up to pale sunlight filtering through the curtains. The soft cotton blanket hugged me like the warmest hug in the world. I blinked, feeling like I had just had a strange dream of getting lost, meeting a strange man, and being taken to a rich man's villa. Temporary? Just thinking about the word temporary foster made me blush. I'm not a stray cat. I sat up and found a brand new, simple, milky white dress on the bedside table. There was a small piece of paper clipped to it with familiar, cute writing for temporary use. "The kitchen has breakfast." I was stunned for 3 seconds, then burst out laughing. Why do I suddenly feel like a princess? I finished changing and went downstairs. The large living room was empty, but the kitchen light was on. Tong Mo Than was still in a simple white shirt, leisurely making coffee. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the sharp contours of his jaw. A man wearing simple clothes but still exudes the aura of a CEO. What an injustice to humanity. I mumbled, "Good morning." He glanced at me and nodded faintly. "Sit down." On the table was breakfast, toast, fried eggs, and a glass of warm milk. I widened my eyes. "Did you prepare this yourself?" Seeing me still confused, he raised his eyebrows. "Star, are you afraid I'll quit smoking?" I panicked and waved my hand. No, I'm just not used to it. Normally, I eat instant noodles. Where can I find such a luxurious breakfast? Tong Mo Than did not reply, just leisurely drank coffee, his face lazy as if he was too used to taking care of others. After eating a few bites, I couldn't hold it in any longer. Lin asked, "Aren't you going to work?" "He is on vacation." "Young master also knows how to take leave?" I was terribly curious, but didn't dare ask further. After eating, I helped clear the table and wash the dishes. He stood with his arms crossed against the wall, calmly watching me spin around in the kitchen. "I'm embarrassed, please don't stare like that." He curved his lips, half smiling, looking at me clumsily was also fun. "I'm so pretty, but my mouth is so mean, Dad." But strangely, I didn't feel angry, like a little cat being teased, scratching the right spot, both angry and amused. That afternoon he told me, if I couldn't find a place to stay, I could stay here for a few days. I panicked and waved my hand. "No, I'm embarrassed to stay too long." He smiled faintly. "Staying a few more days won't kill anyone." "Me, but I'm dying of embarrassment here." Seeing that I was still hesitant, he shrugged and calmly added, "There are plenty of extra rooms, so it's not much of a cost to raise a stray rabbit." Lost rabbit? I admit that I am as small, wet, and vulnerable as a rabbit. But why does it sound like you picked up a pet to raise? In your eyes, am I just a low-level pet? Finally, under that not-so-gentle enticement, I obediently nodded. In the evening, after taking a shower, I curled up in the living room, scrolling through my newly charged phone thanks to him, and ignoring the TV show showing the movie Bon Tan. Suddenly, a message from an unknown number appeared and reported to the police. "Your phone and wallet can be found. Please come to the headquarters to claim them."
I jumped up with joy like a lucky number. Tong Mo Than was sitting reading the newspaper in the opposite chair. Seeing me jumping up, he asked, "What's going on?" I happily showed him the message. He glanced, nodded calmly. "I will take you tomorrow." I'm surprised. "Is that okay with you?" He replied blandly, "Since you picked it up, you have to take care of it properly." Why does this sentence sound like I'm some kind of kitten or puppy that was picked up and brought home? But being raised like this isn't bad either. A second later, I mentally punched myself in the face. Okay, wake up. Don't crash someone just because they cooked you breakfast. But it's hard to wake up. That night I lay in bed, arms wrapped around the blanket, eyes staring at the ceiling. Tong Mo, a stranger whom I had known for less than 24 hours, had done more for me than anyone else in my life since my parents passed away. He didn't ask too many questions, nor did he act hypocritical. He just quietly and calmly spread his arms to shield me from the rain in this cold world. In that luxurious villa, outside the rain was still falling, but in my heart a tiny seed had begun to sprout, a very warm, very sweet feeling. I thought I was just a little tired. After all, I had been out in the rain for several hours yesterday, and had been tormented emotionally all night. My body couldn't take it. But I still tried to act normal, not wanting to be a burden to others anymore. Try to stay cheerful. Try to eat. Try not to breathe like a fish out of water. At night, when Tong Mo Than asked if I was okay, I still smiled. I'm fine. Blatant lie, because right after that I got up to get some water and almost fell face first onto the floor. A steady arm caught me as fast as lightning, the faint scent of mint surround. I raised my head, lost in his deep black eyes. "You have a fever." He frowned, his voice low. I stammered. Before I could deny it, his hand was on my forehead, blazing hot. The feeling of his cold palm made me want to cry with relief. He sighed very softly, almost a sigh of helplessness. "Don't know how to take care of yourself?" I blame love. I was as timid as a cat caught stealing. "I don't want to bother you." Hearing that, Song Mo Ching's eyes darkened a little bit. He said nothing more, just picked me up. I screamed in panic. No need, I can go by myself." But he ignored me. In his arms, I was small and light as if it took no effort. My heart was pounding. Not because of fever, but because since when have I wanted to hold this warmth forever? He put me down on the bed in the living room and quickly went to get a cold towel. Antipyretic. I lay still like a dried fish, my eyes following that tall, busy back. I don't know why, but that one clumsy act of care made my nose sting. He sat down on the edge of the bed and carefully placed a cool towel on my forehead. "Take medicines?" He gave a short command. I obediently opened my mouth. He gave me medicine and helped me drink water like a child. After a while, as the medicine began to take effect, my body gradually cooled. I whispered, "Thank you." "Mr. Mulfang." He looked at me, his eyes sparkling in the light, and gave a soft hum. That night, I slept fitfully, half asleep. In the middle of my dream, I felt someone sitting next to me, occasionally changing the cool towel, gently touching my forehead to check my temperature. His voice was deep like a lullaby. "Go to sleep. I'm here." For the first time in years, I slept without nightmares. Early the next morning, I woke up in a daze. The light outside the window was dim. The whole room was quiet. I moved slightly and found a tall man sleeping next to the sofa. Tong Mo Than. He was wearing yesterday's shirt, his head leaning against the chair, his arms hanging down. His usually cold expression was now extremely gentle. I heard people looking at him, not knowing how long he stayed up with me, not knowing how many times he changed the towels, how many times he checked my temperature, just to make sure I would be okay. My throat tightened, a warm feeling rising in my chest. Secretly, I pulled my leg up and covered him lightly, afraid of disturbing his rare sleep. Just then, he moved slightly, his thin eyelid opened, revealing familiar deep eyes. His eyes met mine. For a brief moment, he was stunned. His voice was very slightly hoarse. awake. I nodded like a chicken. He propped himself up with his hands and stretched, a simple movement but still filled with charisma. Hungry? He asked. I lowered my voice a little. He smiled faintly, patting my head like he was patting a kitten. Sit still, I'll cook porridge. I stared. What? Young Master Tong Mo Than is cold and arrogant. The boss is here. Go cook me porridge. Half an hour later, he brought out a bowl of hot white porridge. I took a spoon and scooped up a piece. It was soft, fragrant, and extremely tasty. Are you cooking? I am surprised. He was calm. There was no one else but him. I almost cried at the table. For the first time, someone took care of me like this, not out of obligation, not out of responsibility,
but out of their own free will. After finishing eating, I sat curled up on the sofa, watching him clean up the dishes, silently coming to a conclusion in my heart. This man is really good, so good that it makes people want to throw away all their guard, throw away all their self-respect, just to be able to hold him tightly. But I know it can't be. You and I are two very different worlds. A person standing at the pinnacle of glory. A person is just an orphan, lost in this big city. I have no right to demand, nor do I have the right to dream. Just being able to be with you a little longer, I'm already satisfied. But I didn't know when I quietly bit my lip to stop myself from having unrealistic hopes. That man was standing from afar looking at me, his eyes so gentle that even he himself didn't realize it. After fully waking up, I felt like I was reborn. My body was light, my mind was clear, and my heart was strangely comfortable. But the joy lasted less than half a day before it was overtaken by unease. I can't keep living off others like this. You have helped me so much. I cannot turn myself into a debt, a burden in this sparkling villa. That afternoon, I stood on the balcony looking at the sky as gloomy as my heart. Tong Mo Than sat in the living room, laptop open, focusing on processing work emails. The pale sunlight shone on the bridge of his nose, making his already cold face appear unbelievably sharp. You are so busy, but still take time to take care of me. A girl who is irrelevant and does not bring him any benefits. The more I think, the more my heart becomes hard. I clenched my fists, took a deep breath, and gathered all my courage to step in front of him. He raised his head, his deep eyes fell on me. I opened my mouth tremblingly. Brother Mo Tong, I think I should leave. The room suddenly became so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. His eyes darkened. Who chased you? His voice was not high, but carried a kind of invisible pressure. I swallowed. Leanie, I can't bother you forever. I will find a place to stay myself. I will leave tomorrow. I tried to stay calm, but my hands hidden behind my back were clenched until they turned white. He closed his laptop, leaned back in his chair, his eyes colder. Because I'm shy, I want to go? He asked, his voice indifferent. I bit my lip and nodded. A moment later, he burst out laughing, a sarcastic laugh. Anha, what do you think I am, a temporary resting place? I was stunned. That question was like a knife stabbed straight into the chest. Not! I quickly shook my head, tears welling. He stood up and walked towards me. The height difference makes me look even smaller. I looked up at him, my eyes wet. He bowed his head, his voice hoarse. Or do you find me annoying? No, it's not like that. I almost cried. I panicked and hurriedly explained, I just don't want to be a burden to you. I know my status. I'm not worthy of you. Before I could finish my sentence, he grabbed my wrist. Not painful, but enough to make me shiver. Tong Mo Than looked at me, his eyes burning like fire. In his eyes, I was the type of person who discriminated against status. I opened my mouth, not knowing how to respond. He let go of my hand, turned around and left, his voice cold. "If you want to go, then go." I stood there stunned, tears finally uncontrollable. Drop by drop rolled down. I turned and rushed out of the villa, taking nothing with me, not having time to think, only knowing that if I stayed, I wouldn't be able to control myself and beg him to keep me. The sky outside has been raining for some time. Cold raindrops hit my face, soaking into every inch of my skin. I ran as if to escape from everything. But before I could run far, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps, heavy rain, a pounding heart and heavy breathing from behind. And then a strong force pulled me back. I was hugged tightly into a familiar warm embrace, locked up. No way to struggle, no way to escape. His voice rang in my ear, hoarse. "Don't go." I sobbed. "I don't want to bother you." He tightened his arms. The rain poured down in his shoulders, shivering. "What's the problem? I will bother you all my life." He said in a low voice, "Am I crying? No matter the wind or rain, no matter what happens in this world, as long as I'm in these arms, as long as I can hear those words, I don't need anything else." I clutched his wet shirt, crying like a child. He bent his head and whispered in my ear, "Eat well. Don't you understand? I have not been able to let go of you for a long time. It's still raining." Two people hugging each other in the middle of the street in the pouring rain. No one cares about the eyes of passers-by. No one needs to hide, just need each other. That night, he carried me straight home, regardless of being soaked. He changed my clothes, forced me to take medicine, covered me with a blanket, and then breathed a sigh of relief. I lay under the blanket, furtively looking up at him. Tong Mo Tan, a man who seems cold and emotionless, turned out to be so gentle. Your one sentence, "Don't go," is enough for me to give up the whole world. I pulled the corner of the blanket and asked softly, "You're not mad at me anymore?" He raised his eyebrows, angry? I cringed, but his next sentence made me want to laugh through tears. "Angry you don't know how important you are to me." That night, I fell asleep in his arms. Little heart, for the first time in a long time, felt so peaceful. The next morning, I woke up to see pale yellow sunlight shining on the ceiling. The scent of the toasted bread seeps into every cell. I rubbed my eyes and found myself still curled up in the soft blanket. Next to the sofa lay a new suit, a simple beige dress, and a light cardigan. No need to guess. Someone prepared them for me. I hugged the blanket and rolled around on the bed a few times. My heart was soft as noodles. Tong Mo Tan, a cold man in real life, is gentle as the morning sun in my own world. When I crawled downstairs, he was sitting at the dining table, leisurely sipping coffee. Seeing me walking towards him, he glanced at me and said indifferently, "You're up late?" I smiled shyly, "Because I was too tired yesterday." He raised his eyebrows, "Yeah? You cried yourself to sleep last night. It would be strange if you weren't tired today." I blushed and almost buried my face in the bowl of porridge. I have already cried and cried in my heart. Now I'm being teased. What a shame. After breakfast, I stood there, confused, playing with my fingers. Mo Tan. He put down his coffee cup, looked at me deeply, wanting to go further. I shook my head like a rattle. No. He nodded understanding. I wonder why that sentence sounds like you just successfully adopted a stray cat. He stood up, slowly pulled out a chair and motioned me to sit down. "I have something to discuss with you." I sat down obediently, feeling nervous as if I was about to sign my first job application. Tong Mo Tan calmly took out a blank piece of paper from his briefcase. No title, no red mark, just 2 simple bullet points. Anha stays here until he leaves voluntarily. Tong Mo Tan is responsible for Anha's entire life and personal safety. I stared. What is this? He folded his hands, his voice as calm as if discussing a business partnership. Tacit agreement. I hate implicit contracts. He nodded. Not legally binding, but effective. Conscience. I want to laugh, but I don't dare to laugh. He rested his chin on his hand, his eyes lazy, but extremely serious. I mean, you stay here. I'll take care of all the expenses. You just need to live well. Don't worry about anything. I mumbled, but I'm so shy. He looked at me and smiled. If you are shy, you have to accept it. What am I that is so unreasonable like you? I'm confused. You help me so much. How can I repay you in the future? He frowned, looking thoughtful as he thought about his response.
Then, stay by my side obediently. I nodded vigorously. Tong Mo Ton leaned over, his eyes darkened a bit, his low voice rang in my ear. Then stay by my side obediently. My heart was beating like a drum, but I pretended to be calm. Is there anything else? He curled his lips half-jokingly, sometimes smile at me a little more. Don't always be on guard like I'm a hungry wolf. I laughed. It turns out that in his eyes, I'm always like a little cat with its fur ruffled, afraid people will eat me. I nodded. So I agree. Disguised cohabitation contract, thus successfully signed. No black and white paper, no stamped name, just a word of agreement. A look at each other is enough. From that day, my life will turn a new page. Every morning we have breakfast together, then he goes to work.
I stay at home cleaning, reading books, learning more skills. Every night when he comes home, I cook a few simple dishes, but he secretly adds spices behind my back because they're too bland. Life passes by smoothly like a sweet dream. No strings attached, no commitments, but every little moment is filled with a sense of belonging. One evening, while I was busy rearranging the bookshelves in the study, Tong Mo Ton walked over. He stood leaning against the door with his arms crossed, looking at me silently. I turned back and tilted my head to ask, "What's wrong?" He slowly walked over and gently lifted my chin. His eyes were as bright as warm fire. His voice was low, soft as water. "Eat well. I told you, don't be so cute in front of me." Am I stupid? He lowered his head. The distance was only a few centimeters. My heart was beating wildly, but in the end, he just gently stroked my head, saying, "Wait until you grow up a little. I will collect the debt." In my heart, the little seed once again sprouted. This time, it did not sprout in the rain, but in the warm sunlight, protected and waited for by a gentle person. Life with Tong Mo Ton passed smoothly like flowing water. Day by day, I gradually got used to waking up every morning to hear him making coffee in the kitchen, getting used to the steady sound of his footsteps echoing through the house, getting used to someone silently preparing breakfast, turning on the air conditioner when the weather turned cold. I even got used to the fact that every night before going to bed, he always reminded me to cover myself with the blanket. People say it's hard to get used to it, but damn it, I'm getting more and more used to your presence. One weekend afternoon, I was reading a book in Tong Mo Ton's study when a guest came to visit. I'm not the gossipy type, so I just silently did my work, not taking the initiative to say hello. But when I heard a girl's crisp laughter in the living room, I paused a bit. Her voice was clear and sweet like a windmill. "Mr. Tong, you are getting harder and harder to meet. Call also do not listen." I was curious and peeked out. The sight before my eyes made my heart clench. A young girl in a pure white dress, pretty face, light makeup, was sitting very close to him. Tong Mo Ton was still his usual cold self, but clearly did not chase her away, and even made tea for her. I bit my lip and turned back to the study. My heart feels like it's being scratched by claws for some reason. Not happy, very unhappy. I couldn't concentrate all afternoon. Reading books is not interesting. Cleaning also makes things fall continuously. That sweet laughter kept ringing in my head, and the scene of the two people talking to each other intimately and gently kept appearing, while I felt like an extra person. A feeling of sadness rose up to my throat. Until the evening when the guests left, I still covered myself with the blanket and lay curled up on the sofa, pretending to be dead. Hearing the door close, his footsteps approached. I closed my eyes tightly. Before I could act out my role, a big hand patted the top of my head. Pretending to sleep, his voice rang out faintly. I forced myself to open my eyes. I pretended to be stupid. I really slept. He raised his eyebrows, smiling as if he was not smiling in his sleep, but frowning. "I'm dead. I'm exposed." I sat up awkwardly, intending to avoid him, but he blocked my way. He sat down opposite me, his hands on his knees, his eyes locked on mine. Angry?
I bit my lip and shook my head. Do not have. He curled his lips, his voice low, no face down like a deflated dumpling. I choked, not wanting to continue acting in front of him anymore. I pouted and said, "It was normal. You have such a beautiful girlfriend, talking happily. I shouldn't interfere." As soon as I said it, I regretted it so much I wanted to bite my tongue. Tongmo looked at me silently for a few seconds, then he suddenly burst out laughing, a rare, low laugh that sounded as soft as the wind blowing through the treetops. He reached out and pulled me closer. I struggled slightly, but he held me tight. The distance was so close that I could see each long eyelash hanging down his eyes. He whispered, "On?" "Yes," I replied awkwardly. His eyes darkened very seriously. "No girlfriend." I blinked. He continued speaking each word clearly. "Do not have, no intention, no one but you is allowed in this house." My heart felt like it was being squeezed by a hand. I looked at him blankly, forgetting to breathe. He stroked my hair gently, his voice low and husky. "Don't think nonsense." That night, I lay curled up in my blanket, my heart pounding and my face burning with fever, replaying that sentence over and over in my head. No one is allowed in this house except me. A simple sentence, but for a lost little cat like me, it was the most tender promise. After that first jealousy incident, Tongmo and I seemed to have made an invisible step forward. He started calling me on how more gently instead of the cold voice like before. I also gradually got used to receiving a text message from the room next door every night before going to bed. "Good night, beautiful Rain. If you don't leave a message, someone will knock on the door. Haven't said good night yet?" We didn't say anything clearly, but no promises were needed. Just being together is all. They say loving someone is not when they give you candy or fruit, but the small, trivial moments. A look, a light touch, a casual word. Suddenly in my heart, a corner began to be filled with flowers. I don't know when I started to feel this way with Tongmo. Maybe it was from the time he patiently cooked porridge for me to eat, or from the time he carried me out of the rain without saying a word of reproach, or maybe it was simply from the way he silently looked at me, as if I was his whole world. In the following days, I found myself doing some very strange things. For example, every morning, I would secretly stand behind the study door to watch how he was getting ready for work. He is always neat, his suit is straight, his lapels are neat, every movement is extremely seductive. But one time, I caught him struggling with the shirt sleeve button, the tiny button that won't go in. He frowned, his expression extremely serious. Seeing him so confused, I burst out laughing. A cold and aloof person in society, majestic in the business world, is sometimes this clumsy and petty. Looking back and forth, suddenly found it so cute. One day I secretly noted down some of his strange habits. For example, when he's stressed, he will tap his index finger on the table. When thinking about something, his right brow will slightly furrow. I like black coffee without sugar, but hate the strong smell of mint. And every time he has free time, he likes to sit and listen to classical music. I was like a petty thief, secretly stealing every little piece of his life, keeping it in my heart as my own treasure. By the time I realized I liked him, things were out of control. I started to feel insecure every time he was too busy to text, started to get nervous just because of a look, a word. Even if he accidentally patted my head, my heart would feel like someone was shooting fireworks in my chest. That night, it was drizzling. Tongmo came home late from work. I stood leaning against the living room window, hot cocoa in hand, looking out at the wet stone courtyard. The pale yellow light reflected on the glass. My figure was small and lonely. Suddenly I thought to myself, if one day you get bored of me, if one day you don't need me anymore, what will happen to me? That question made my chest ache. So I liked him so much that just the thought of losing him made me unable to breathe. The sound of a car engine rang outside the gate. I rushed to open the door. In the light rain, Tongmotan got out of the car, carrying his briefcase, his hair slightly wet from the rush, and his shirt a little wrinkled from the hurry. He looked up and saw me standing there with my lips pursed. Not knowing how to hold the umbrella? What if I catch a cold? I obediently ran out and pushed the big umbrella into his hand. He received the gentle gaze next time in the waiting room. Did you know? I nodded like a chicken. Suddenly, he leaned down and placed a soft kiss on my forehead. A kiss as light as a breeze, but enough to burn my entire nervous system in a flash. I was frozen. My ears were red. My hands and feet were flustered. I didn't know where to hide. Tongmotan smiled lightly, patted my head, and whispered, "I'm back." That night, I rolled around in bed for 2 hours, my heart pounding and my face burning with fever. I replayed that boring kiss in my head no less than 50 times. The more I think about it, the more I feel like I like him so much that I can't pretend to be normal anymore. But even though I like it, I still don't dare to say it, afraid of being sentimental, afraid of breaking this sweet little world. Just being able to be by your side, eating together every day, listening to music together, and talking about trivial things like that is enough for me. As long as you don't chase me away, I will stay. Quietly like you, quietly love you. That night, I was dragged out to dinner by my best friend on the occasion of his salary increase. Tongmotan took me to the restaurant and then left, telling me over and over again not to drink alcohol. I nodded obediently. But life is not like a dream. As soon as I sat down at the table, my friend poured me a glass of pressed red wine. Consider it your wish for my prosperity. Just 1 glass. I hesitate. 1 glass should be fine. 1 cup leads to 2 cups, 2 cups lead to 3 cups. By the time I stood up, my head was buzzing and my whole body felt light as a feather. Tongmotan came to pick me up, and when he saw my extremely crooked appearance, he frowned. He walked quickly over, his hand on my shoulder. "Car there?" he asked, his voice low. I smiled and waved. "I'm awake." He glanced at me and led me straight to the car. On the way back, I fiddled with his zipper and chattered. "Brother Motan, do you know you're very handsome?" He glanced at me, blandly. "Really?" I nodded like garlic. "Extremely beautiful. Looking at you is all I want." "You want?" I stuttered, my face red, screaming inside, "Oh no, okay, stop." But the alcohol has taken control of my mouth. I mumbled, wanting to keep him for myself. As soon as the words were out, the whole car fell into silence. Only the sound of my heart pounding could be heard, louder than the sound of the rain outside. Arriving at the villa door, he stopped the car and didn't rush to open the door. He sat still, turned around, and looked at me. The streetlights reflected on his face, creating alternating patches of light and dark. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "What did you just say?" I panicked and quickly brushed it off. "No, it's nothing. You're talking nonsense." He smiled a dangerous smile. I nodded repeatedly, wanting to find a hole and jump into it. He put his hands on the steering wheel, his eyes locked on me. "Good. Yes, I'm as small as a nose. Now I'm drunk, I can speak my mind." I bit my lip and turned away. "I don't know anything." He sighed and bowed his head. I panicked. The distance was only a few centimeters. His breath fanned my cheek, carrying the cool scent of mint. "So let me say it first." His voice was low, hoarse, mixed with a hint of tension. "I love you." A simple sentence, but for me, it was like a thunderbolt. I looked back at him, bewildered. Tongmotan leaned against me, his eyes bottomless. He continued, "It's not pity, it's not temporary softness, it's love. I like you very much." I pursed my lips, feeling a stinging sensation in my nose. In my drunken stupor, I felt like everything I had tried to hide, all the worries and reservations I had been harboring all this time, had gone up in smoke. I cried not because I was sad, but because I was so happy. Tongmotan panicked. "Why cry?" I rubbed my eyes, my voice hoarse. "I like you too." He was stunned. Then the next second, he laughed. A smile so gentle it melts the world. He bowed his head and placed a warm, gentle kiss on my forehead. "I know," he whispered. That night, we officially confirmed our relationship with no roses, no candles, no parties, just two clumsy hearts finding each other in this big world. I sat on his lap, listening to his steady heartbeat in my ear. Tong Mo Thon wrapped his arms around me, his voice hoarse. "From now on, you are mine. I won't let you go anywhere." I giggled, burying my face in his chest. "I don't want to go anywhere." He tightened his arms, as if afraid I would disappear. Outside, the rain was still falling. But in my heart, there is only absolute peace. If you think that loving someone will only be honey and rainbows, you've definitely seen too many cartoons. After that super sweet confession that night, Tong Mo Thon and I officially established a love relationship. My whole world went from a gloomy gray to suddenly filled with light. I lived in a dreamlike daze. In the morning, someone greets you good morning. At night, someone wishes you good night. Even the smallest things have someone to share. But as the law of life, happiness always comes with challenges. The story begins on a weekend afternoon. Tong Mo Thon took me to the Tong family main house to attend a small party on the occasion of his grandfather's birthday. I was nervous as hell since I was home. "Do I need to prepare anything?" I asked, trembling. He pulled my wrist back and slipped a small watch into my hand. "Just wear this." I opened the box and almost swatted my hand away in shock. The white leather strap watch, small round face, inside is studded with delicate diamonds. Clearly a limited edition, cost twice as much as the motorcycle I was riding. I was in a hurry to return it, but he pulled my hand, carefully put the watch on my wrist and put it on. "You gave it to me, but I mumbled." He looked up at me, his voice calm. "Anho, you don't need to do anything. Just standing next to me is enough." Just one sentence, but filled me with energy. The party at the Songsahar family house was exactly as I imagined. European-style villa, flower garden as big as a football field. The guests were all important people. I held on to Song Bo Tang's vest sleeve tightly, as if afraid to lose it. He leaned over to my ear and whispered, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." I nodded, my heart pounding, but life was not a fairy tale. From the moment I entered, the eyes of the people in the Song family were like thousands of little needles piercing me. Song Mo Thang's cousin, a woman in a striking red dress, walked over, squinted her eyes, and observed me from head to toe, and then laughed sarcastically. "Is this Anho? I heard you work as a freelance assistant. Well, are our family standards that easy these days?" I clenched my fists, forcing a smile without answering. Song Mo Thang's face was cold. He answered indifferently for me. "At least she knows how to make a living on her own, unlike some people who can't do anything but sit on banquet chairs." She choked, her face red with anger. I looked up at him blankly. Oh my God, my brother was cursing someone indirectly, but his face was as calm as if nothing happened. But things didn't stop there. During the party, a few elders took the initiative to pull Song Mo Thang to a corner to discuss something serious. I was standing far away and couldn't hear clearly, only feeling the atmosphere on the other side as tense as a bowstring. A moment later, he came back, his eyes dark. He pulled my hand and led me straight to the backyard of the villa. I was worried. What did my cousin say? He sat down on a stone bench, pulled me onto his lap, and hugged me tightly. One hand gently rubbed my back, his voice deep and warm. They objected. I pursed my lips and forced a smile. "I guessed it. I understand the difference in status and education, but hearing it from your mouth still makes my heart ache." I whispered, "Why don't you back off?" He tightened his arms, his eyes filled with anger. "Anha," I trembled. He spoke slowly, each word engraved into my heart. "I choose you." No one had the right to interfere, not even his family. I opened my eyes wide. My chest felt choked. He leaned down and kissed me gently on the lips, a gentle yet firm kiss. "Eat well. You don't need to back off." If anyone has to let go, it will never be you." That night, I sat in the car with him on the way home. Tong Mo Thon drove with one hand, the other hand tightly holding my hand. In the middle of yellow streetlights blurred by the rain, he tilted his head and smiled. "From today on, prepare yourself mentally." I was bewildered. What mentality? He squeezed my hand lightly. He would do everything to keep me by his side, no matter the cost. In that moment, I knew that even if the whole world turned its back on me, as long as I had this man standing by my side, I had nothing to fear. After that day's Tong family party, Tong Mo Thon and I quietly entered another phase, closer and more familiar, but also carrying a vague feeling of anticipation, waiting for something, even I dare not name it. Every day I wake up and see you next to me.
I secretly pray that time will stop. One weekend afternoon, he suddenly invited me to go to the beach for a change of pace. He said, his voice casual, as if it was just a normal outing. I didn't think much about it and happily agreed. He drove the whole way by himself. We played soft music, sometimes silent, sometimes laughing and joking. So peaceful. The afternoon sea welcomed us with a salty breeze. The red sunset turned the sky into a warm orange-yellow patch. I ran on the sand in my sandals, laughing and shouting, "So beautiful!" Tong Mo Than leisurely walked behind, hands in his pockets, his gentle eyes following my figure. "In your eyes, I know there is no sunset, no sea or sky, only me." We sat down on the sand, looked and patted each other. He took a jacket from the car and put it on my shoulders. "It's getting dark, don't get cold." I pulled my shirt closer to my body and smiled. He was truly an old man. He smiled softly and did not answer. A moment later, he stood up and followed him. I stood up curiously and let him hold my hand and lead me away. We walked along the beach to a more deserted area. There, I was stunned. A small path leading to the water's edge was lined with lanterns. Hundreds of small lights emit soft, yellow light like stars falling to earth. In the distance, there are small fireworks placed in the sand, as if waiting for a signal. The sea breeze blew through the cave, making it look so beautiful it was unreal. I turned to look at Tong Mo Than, eyes wide open. "Brother, this is you?" Smiling, squeezing my hand. "Let's go." We walked down the glittering street. Every step is like a beating heart. When he reached the middle of the sandbank, Tong Mo Cheng stopped. He turned to face me, his eyes calm and deep. I was still bewildered when he suddenly knelt down on one knee. In his hand was a crimson velvet box. When the box lid was opened, inside was a simple yet exquisite diamond ring that sparkled under the lantern light. I was breathless. Tong Mo Than looked up at me, his eyes gentle as never before. His voice was low and hoarse, touching the bottom of my heart. "Good, I can't promise to give you the best in the world, but I can give you my world. Will you marry me?" I choked, eyes stinging. The whole world around blurred in the lights and the sound of waves, leaving only the man in front of her. You gently entered my life, patiently warming me little by little. I covered my mouth with my hand and nodded continuously, tears rolling down my cheeks. "I agree." The moment I replied, small coastal fireworks were shot into the sky. Brilliant light bloomed in the night sky, illuminating the dark night sky. The fireworks resounded in my chest. Tong Mo Than stood up and put the ring on my left ring finger. His fingers trembled slightly, but his eyes were determined and burning. He pulled me into his arms and hugged me tightly. His hoarse voice rang in my ears. "From now on, I will be with you. Don't leave, don't abandon." I buried my face in his chest, tears mingling with laughter. My heart, for the first time in my life, really belonged to someone. No hesitation, no regrets, just love, pure, sincere, and forever. That night, Tong Mo Than and I sat on the beach for a long time, watching the stars, listening to the waves, and dreaming together about a future with just the two of us. My wedding with Tong Mo Than was not as lavish as everyone imagined. No gold-plated altar or 3-meter-long wedding dress, no hundreds of guests, and no media coverage. Simply a small party in the garden behind his villa, with sunshine, flowers, and soft music ringing in the wind. And most importantly, the person I love is standing there waiting for me. I wore a plain white cutout dress with just light lace trim on the cuffs and skirt. High bun with a small flower in it. Standing in front of the mirror, I burst into tears, not because of my beautiful makeup, but because of all the hurt, loss, and loneliness in my life. I finally found the one who will hold my hand for the rest of my life. When I stepped out, the whole garden seemed to freeze. Tongmo Than stood under the flower arch in a white suit, his eyes locked on me from the very first moment. In your eyes, I see gentleness and determination, love so deep it takes my breath away. He reached out to me. Without thinking, I ran towards him, holding his hand tightly. Like so many times before. Like from now until forever. The officiant, a close friend of his, began to say brief words of blessing. I heard the wind, the waves, the sound of my heart beating wildly in my chest. I heard him say, "From today on, I, Tongmo Than, vowed to dedicate my entire life to you. In happiness or sadness, wealth or misfortune, health or sickness, we will be together forever." I held his hand tightly, tears rolling without knowing. It was my turn. My voice was trembling. I, Anne Howe, from today onwards, vow to use all my love and loyalty to be by Tongmo Than's side, never leave, never abandon, forever be his companion, his family. When the officiant announced, "Now you can kiss the bride," Tongmo Than did not hesitate a second. He bent down to kiss me, a deep, gentle kiss, but also full of possession. The applause around him rang out like firecrackers. I closed my eyes, silently thanking him in my heart. Thank you for finding me in this vast world. Thank you for loving me, an imperfect Anne Howe. And thank you for giving me a home to return to. After the wedding, we held a small outdoor barbecue party with our friends and relatives. No strong alcohol, no loud music, just laughter, lively voices, and the aroma of food spreading in the wind. Tongmo Than did not leave my side for more than 3 minutes the whole time. He held my hand, fed me, even helped me brush my windblown hair. Those little gestures are like thin threads that weave tightly around my heart. That evening, when everyone had left, he pulled me into his arms in the middle of the quiet garden. The lanterns hung high above, the pale light covering our shoulders. He whispered, "Delicious food?" I pressed my cheek against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Yes." He said softly, "Do you know that when you walked towards me in your wedding dress, I burst into tears?" I looked up in surprise. "You can cry too?" He smiled softly and patted my head. "Yes, just for you." I hugged him tightly. In this world, I ask for nothing more. As long as I have you, as long as I open my eyes every day and still see you by my side, as long as I can hold your hand every day through the 4 seasons, through my youth, through my whole life. Tongmo Than bent down and kissed my forehead. "Eat well. From today, you are the greatest luck in my life." I laughed, tears rolling without time to wipe. "You are also my greatest luck." Under the starry sky that night, amidst the endless sound of waves, amidst the lanterns swaying gently in the wind, he and I, 2 people who were once lost in this vast world, finally found each other, finally had a happy ending. No need to show off, no need to be fancy. As long as we are together, that's enough.